On this slide here, they're asking us to find the circumference of both circles in each question. So in question one, we have two circles. One's a larger circle that's shaded in, and then there is a smaller circle on the inside that is not shaded in, and the same thing for number two. So they're asking us to find the circumference of both. So let me click over to our camera here so we can see on our paper here. So we'll start with number one. Since they're asking me for circumference, I know I'm either going to use formula 3 or formula 4. So I have to look at the given information and determine if I have the diameter or the radius. And since I have two circles, I'm going to have to find the circumference 2 times. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be the circumference. And I like to make a little note here of the smaller circle. And I look at the smaller circle here, and I am given the distance from the center to the outside of this. This circle here, this line here is going to the outside, the larger circle. So that's not important right now because we're just working on the smaller circle. And this distance right here from the center to the outside is called the radius, which tells me I want to use my formula 4. Circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. So when I substitute everything in to get the circumference, 2 stays the same. For pi, I'm going to use 3.14, but you can certainly use 22 over 7 since this is a multiple of 7, and times the radius, which in this case is 7. And when I substitute all that in and plug it into my calculator, I get a circumference of 25.12, and then I always use my unit of yards. So that's for my smaller circle. Done. Now we're going to do the larger circle. So the circumference of the big circle or larger circle. I have to determine which formula I want. The center here is still the same for the larger circle. It starts right here. And we're given here the radius of the larger circle because it starts at the center and only goes to the outside. So again, I'm going to use formula 4, where circumference is equal to times pi times the radius. Substitute in what I know. 2 stays the same. Pi is 3.14. Probably wouldn't use 22 over 7 because 12 is not a multiple of 7. And then times the radius of 12. And we plug all that into our calculator. We get the circumference is equal to 75.36 yards. It's a little bit off the screen. So I'm going to go back here and just box in my answers so I can show that I have both circumferences. So now for number 2. When I go to number 2, again, I have two circles. I have the small and the large. So this time I'm just going to put C and I'm going to put L for large. And then I'm going to do them side by side. And for my smaller circle here on the inner, this is a radius again. So it's 2 times pi times the radius. And I just substitute in what I know. 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 10 inches. When I multiply all that, the circumference of the smaller circle is 62.8 inches. So that's the smaller circle. Now the larger circle is a little different than the other one. They're only giving me the distance from the outside of the smaller circle to the outside of the larger circle, which is 4 inches. So what I need to do is kind of imagine this radius rotating and coming out here, which is still going to be 10 inches. So the entire radius then of the larger circle is 14 inches. You add the two together. So again, it's still radius, so it's 2 times pi times the radius. Substitute it in, 2 times 3.14, or you could use 22 over 7 because 14 is a multiple of 7. But I'm going to just use pi. Plug in 14, multiply it all together, and I get 87.92 inches for the circumference of the larger circle.